Good morning to all of you. Today is the first day of presentation semester 4, and in which I am going to deal with my presentation topic, thematic study of the Ministry of Utmost Happiness. This is my Acha, this is my personal information. Table of contents, introduction about the novel, themes, conclusion, and references. Arundhati Roy is a compelling of fundamental and contemporary landscape of contemporary India. She is an Indian author and political activist who is best known for award-winning novel *The God of Small Things* in 1997. And for her involvement in environmental and human rights causes, which resulted in various legal problems. She studied architecture at the Delhi School of Architecture and worked as a production designer. She has written 2 screenplays, including Electric Moon, commissioned by Channel 4 Television. Uh, she is also the author of several non-fiction books, including The Cost of Living, a highly critical attack on the Indian government for its handling of the controversial Narmada Valley Dam project and for its nuclear testing program, Power Politics, and a book of essays, and the Algebra Infinite Justice, a collection of journalism. In 2017, Roy published in her second novel, The Ministry of Utmost Happiness. In 20 years, the work blends personal stories with topical issues as it process uses a large cast of characters, including a transgender woman and a resistance fighter in Kashmir, to explore contemporary India. Arundhati Roy was awarded the Lennon Prize for Cultural Freedom in 2003. Her latest book is The Ministry of Utmost Happiness, her second novel, and it was longlisted for the Man Booker Prize, and in the US was a finalist for the National Book Critics Circle Award. About the novel, Arundhati Roy's The Ministry of Utmost Happiness is the compelling explorations of manifested landscape of modern India. Her latest work, which deliberately blurs the boundary between fiction and non-fiction, creating a novel that constantly pushes against its own generic demands. Unfortunately, it fails in exploiting the flexibility of the genre and bends it at the wrong places, revealing too much when silence is required and blocking the vision when more articulations may have been welcome. This results in the novel that, despite its fearless political positions, becomes a caricature of the world that Roy has been analyzing for the last 2 decades. The first sections of the novel, comprising the first 6 chapters, takes a sweeping view of the developments in contemporary Indian history, connected its various signposts: the Bhopal Union Carbide disaster, the massacres of the Sikhs in 1984, of the Muslims in the Gujarat carnage in 2002, the rise of the Hindutva, the drama of civil rights movements that center around the Anna Hazare and Arvind Kejriwal in Jantar Mantar, and the tribal uprising in Bastar. The second section in the novel, that chapter 7 to 9, explores from multiple perspectives the issue of Kashmir's long struggle for independence, which has been variously dubbed separations and militancy in contemporary discourse. In the final section, comprising the chapter 10 to 12, the narratives of the first 2 sections are brought together to suggest an optimistic closure. In the first section revolves that around the life of Anjum, and who is born a hermaphrodite to Muslim parents, and she is born as Aftab, and then she became Anjum, who had named their infant Aftab. There are 4 events which transform Aftab and Anjum's life: Her discovery of the Kwabga, a Haveli of Hijra, of which she becomes a resident, her deep attachment to the orphan girl Zainab, her travel to Gujarat in 2002, where she faces the Hindu mob who spare her because she uh, she is a hijra, and finally her decision to move away from the Kwabga to Jannat, the graveyard. It is during her fantastic residence in the graveyard, reminding the reader of the real life Mona Ahmed, that Anjum meets Saddam Hussein. Uh, Roy begins the prologue with a fairy tale, like a depiction of the magic hour, uh, in a tone of the starting of the novel. Themes, the theme of environment. Roy started the prologue with a fairy tale. It is one kind of tone, and the fairy tale, like depiction of the it magic hour, but quickly shifts to stark imagery of flying foxes, crows, banyan trees, and old graveyard. uh, Arundhati Roy is a zealous and internationally recognized environmental activist. Arundhati Roy contributed to the cult of environmental writing. The global environmental challenges have drawn her attention and provided her writing with an uncompromising spirit. And the epigraph attached to the Ministry of Utmost Happiness reads to the unconsoled. The mood of the writer resonates in the epigraph, where she acknowledges the presence of those who are unconsoled. In the novel of the Ministry of Utmost Happiness, where the environmental challenges are in the starting of the novel, where eight magic hour, in the tone there were starting of the rise of moon, rise of sun, uh, and there were a tone of the novel, in the theme of environment, through the though the readers are not aware of the identity of these unconsoled people, yet their presence is a dominant one. As the narrative progresses, the prologue to the novel provides a glimpse of the author's inclinations and concerns. It magic over tells the Arundhati Roy is the beginning of fairy tale. However, the fantastic imagery of the magic hour takes a sharp with the introduction of flying foxes and crows, and trees and graveyard. The unsated appetite of the human has led to the extinctions of white-backed vultures and sparrows. The vultures and natural scavengers and feed on the dead flesh. However, as the prologue tells, the vultures have died of dictofenic intoxication. The veterinary administration of dictofenic is a muscle relaxant in crows and buffaloes to enhance dairy production has led to the large-scale death of white-rumped vultures. The vultures populated Indian forest and helped in the process of sanitation by consuming the carcasses of dead animals. Thus, the critical environmental issue has been brought to focus by Arundhati Roy. Intertextuality and translation. This biological duality of Anjum is further reinforced through the patches of textuality, such as transliteration of Urdu verses of classical Urdu poets, creating polyphony that replicates the hermaphroditic protagonist. It is interesting to note that the use of intertextuality frequents the text in the first part of the novel that deals mainly with Anjum's story. In the later part of the novel, these code mixing intertext rarely appear. Arundhati Roy carries this linguistic parallelism another step further by translating Urdu verses in and translation comes first, followed by a rhyme and then a theme. And whatever is placed in initial position is theme. The duality of Anjum keeps on shifting throughout the novel, creating a mosaic identity, a quality that Roy replicates linguistically by patching her prose with intertextuality and translation, or in uh, Bakhtinian concept. She creates a parallel narrative in gender identity crisis. Uh, the Anjum's innate gender identity is hijra clashed with the societal binary norms of masculine and feminine genders. So here Anjum's he, he is a hijra, and her parents don't didn't accept as an a transgender. This caused confusion and fear in her mother, so leading her to give Anjum the male name Aftab in an attempt to confirm the two gender expectations. Uh, Anjum's experience can be seen as an identity crisis stemming from the societal and familial non acceptance of her non binary gender identity. The novel highlights the struggles faced by those who don't conform to the rigid gender binary, and the alienations and marginalization they can face even from loved ones. Sexuality and love. Sexuality and love are connected to each other in Arundhati Roy's The Ministry of Utmost Happiness. Love is one of the major themes in Arundhati Roy's novel. While there are characters like Anjum whose sexual identity exceeds beyond the conventional norm, there are also characters like Tilo, Saddam, and others who fall under the category of the so-called conventional norm of sexuality. Arundhati Roy has not portrayed woman relationship. She had portrayed man relationship as well as man woman relationship in the novel. The major characters in the novel are people who has been bent and broken and in need of love. Love is the only source of hope for them in the midst of all brokenness, and it acts as a medium of healing for all that they have undergone. Arundhati Roy has portrayed how, apart from all the sexual differences between the so called normal people and the queer people, love is the one thing that is common between them. Anjum was considered to be a man by her parents and the society, but she felt like a woman from inside Anjum, though a homosexual with a male body and a woman's soul wishes to have a child of her own. Her dream became a reality when she found Zainab. Apart from Zainab, another person who managed to create a place in Anjum's heart was Saddam Hussein. Anjum knew him little and liked him a little bit, liked him a lot. They were fond of each other, and though the relationship they had is unnamed, they said a strong bonding. However, in spite of the love that was growing between them, it never progressed, and Saddam went on to marry Zainab. This could be seen as a result of Anjum's complex sexuality, and Anjum finds fulfillment in her love for Zainab and their adopted child. Saddam Hussein representing a more conventional sexuality and shared a strong bond and unnamed relationship with Anjum. Here, Arundhati Roy represents that Anjum's uh, portrays a spectrum of sexualities and unnamed relationship with Zainab's. Yeah, Roy highlights how love is universal, transcending the divisions between normal and queer people. In the novel, Tilo belonged to a place with Anjum called Dunya, and the heterosexual world. And Tilo, being from Dunya and being a complete woman, somehow tends to enjoy some freedom when it comes to love. Tilo is a character who dwells in her own world and cares less about the world around her. The readers get to know about Tilo mostly through the eyes of landlord, and her life revolved around three men who were in love with her, Naga, Biplab Dasgupta, and Musha. It was in their college days that the four became friends, but even after that, their lives circled around each other. Tilo and Musa were in love and they even got married, but unfortunately, their marriage did not work out. After their separation, life brought them together again, but this time, Tilo had to suffer the consequences of loving someone who was considered to be an enemy of the nation. Resilience and hope. Perseverance and resilience keep the spark between the characters alive and weave them in a common thread of acceptance throughout the work. We find enough instances of inequalities and violence through the point of view of characters and sceneries where in order to survive one must have the will and hope to never give up. The story of Miss Udaya Jevin, the baby who was adopted by Anjum and Tilo, signifies and epitomizes the importance of hope. The story of this baby is important because the writer ends the narrative on this note. Arundhati Roy points out that strength and persistence will always bring peace and calmness uh, to the human mind. Arundhati Roy highlights the history of hope and resistance in India and the characters of resilience in the characters. Resilience in the face of contemporary political oppression. In doing so, Arundhati Roy suggests that hope is the most important sources of empowerment for those who facing oppression, and suggests that although the characters may not see the immediate effects of their resistance or resilience. Conclusion. Overall, the Arundhati Roy's novel, The Ministry of Utmost Happiness, explores several profound themes through the lives of its diverse characters, and the novel highlights environmental concerns and criticizes human actions that harm nature, such as the use of diclofenac leading to the death of vultures. It delves into the complex issue of gender identity and sexuality. Love emerges as a unifying force transcending difference in gender and sexuality. Resilience and hope are celebrated as the characters persevere through advertises, finding strength in acceptance and compassion. Uh, to sum up, the Arundhati Roy's poignant narrative underscores the importance of embracing individual identities, nurturing love, and fostering harmonious coexistence with the environment and among the all people. Here are the references. If you have any query, then ask.
Anjali, how does the theme of love transcend societal boundaries in this novel?
Arundhati Roy's the novel, the theme of transcendental societal boundaries in the novel that Royce portrays that novel is in with sexuality and societal boundaries, that identity and norms of norms norms in the novel of Roy's the Ministry of Utmost Happiness.
Anjali, my question is